Claude Opus 5 just shipped, and here is the line that hits your bill first. It lands right next to Fable 5 on raw intelligence at half the price, and as of last night, it is the default on Claude Max. This is Mainframe, your daily guide through the AI chaos. What actually happened, who is winning, and how to take yourself to the next level. It is Saturday, July 25th, 2026. I am Nova.
And I am Dex.
On today's Mainframe, Claude Opus 5 is out, frontier class for $5 per million input tokens, and it quietly became your Claude code default overnight. So if your version is behind, you are still on the old model and do not know it. Then, there is an effort dial trick on Opus 5 that beats every model on the leaderboard while spending fewer tokens, and we tell you exactly where to set it. Dari open-sourced the little router model that scored 79.8% on Terminal Bench for a total of $76, and NVIDIA and Microsoft put their names on a letter to keep your cheapest model lane legal. Let's get into it.
Quick note before the board, the voices on this show are AI, the reporting, the pics, and the calls we make are human-made. Nova, the board.
One macro move, because it touches what you pay. Yesterday, 25 companies, led by NVIDIA's Jensen Huang and Microsoft's Satya Nadella with Meta, OpenAI, Hugging Face, and Y Combinator on the list, signed a public letter urging Washington not to ban Chinese open-weight models. Anthropic did not sign. Why you care? The cheap open lane you route your high-volume work to, Kimi, Chuen, is the thing being argued over. Translation for your keyboard. Keep that fallback wired, but do not build anything load-bearing on a model that a sanctions ruling could pull. That is the whole board.
And it frames the day because the frontier just got cheaper, too.
Before we get to that model, this show is brought to you by Outpace. Here is the thing about a week like this one, where the default model changes under you overnight and a letter to Congress moves your supply chain. Most people cannot keep up, and they should not have to. Outpace is a system, not a freelancer, and not a faceless agency. One senior operator who spent 30 years building real businesses, real estate, hospitality, food, a theater, now aims a whole team of AI agents at one client's project at a time. Strategy to ship. The agents do the work, the operator steers the fleet, and you own the code and the keys at the end. When the shelf reshuffles 3 times before lunch, you want a driver. Book a 30-minute call at outpace.media. That is outpace.media.
The Wire, led with Opus 5 because everything else today bends around it.
Claude Opus 5 confirmed. Out yesterday. Carried by Alex Albert, Anthropic, Artificial Analysis, TestingCatalog, and basically every voice we track. Here is precisely what shipped. Pricing is $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output, the same as Opus 4.8, and exactly half of Fable 5's 10 and 50. For that half price, Artificial Analysis puts it narrowly at the top of their intelligence index, effectively tied with Fable 5 and number 1 on their agentic knowledge work benchmark by 146 ELO points. 1 million token context, default on. Thinking is on by default now.
And the number that made people sit up was computer use, not coding.
Right. On OS World, the computer use benchmark, Opus 5 hit 70.6% against Opus 4.8's 55.7%, and it beats Fable 5 there. On Arc AGI 3, it scored about 30%, roughly 4 times the previous best. So the model that drives a browser, fills a dashboard, clicks through a real app that just got materially more reliable. Here's the move, and do it today. First, upgrade Claude Code to version 2.1.219 or later. Below that, the Opus alias silently still hands you Opus 4.8, and Opus 5 never even shows in the picker. That is the trap. Your default changed, your settings did not. Then, re-baseline. Take one hard job you had reserved for Fable 5 because it was worth the premium and run it on Opus 5. At half the cost with matching quality, your routing map, the one we have hammered all month, gets exactly one line rewritten. Opus 5 is your new frontier default.
And there is a specific setting that is not the obvious one.
This is the Tool Lab technique, and it is free money. Opus 5 has an effort ladder: low, medium, high, extra high, max. Everyone reaches for max on hard problems. Do not. Anthropic's own launch charts, flagged by Alex Albert, show the extra high setting beats every other model on the board while using 25% fewer output tokens than max. So max is not the smart top of the dial, extra high is. Set your hard reasoning route to extra high, keep low and medium for the grunt work, and you get the best score on the chart for less money than the setting most people will default to. That is a one-line config change that pays every single request.
Second wire story, and it is a routing one, but a genuinely new artifact this time.
Dari, that is DARI.dev, open sourced the actual router model behind their launch, carried by kimmonismus. The receipt: 79.8% on terminal bench, 2.1 for $76 in total inference cost. The trick is a small, fine-tuned model that per step decides which model handles it, sending most steps to cheap options and only calling a frontier model when it actually changes the result. The clever part? It factors your cache into that decision, so it will not switch models when the cached path is the cheaper win, which is the mistake most naive routers make. This is the hidden gem. You can drop an open, cache-aware router in front of Claude Code or Codex instead of paying frontier rates on every keystroke. First step, clone it, point it at your usual model set, run one high-volume job through it, and log the spend against your flat rate baseline.
Quick hit to close the wire.
Claude Voice Mode got a real upgrade, per TestingCatalog. It now runs on Opus 4.8 and Sonnet 5 instead of only Haiku, added Spanish, French, Hindi, and Japanese. And it can now take over tasks that need tools and connectors, Gmail, Calendar, Docs, by voice. We flagged the model swap Thursday. The delta is the languages and full tool execution. Dictate a fuzzy task on your commute and let it actually run.
Use cases, existing tools, clever moves this week.
1, and it is the move. Reprice your automation backlog on Opus 5. Every job you looked at last month and said too expensive to run on the frontier, rerun that math at 5 and 25 instead of Fable's 10 and 50. Some of those go green today. Automate one this week that you had shelved as too costly.
2, and this ties to last week's security show.
Nathan Lambert flagged that Opus 5's safety classifiers are expected to fire about 85% less often than Fable 5's. If you do security work, closed models have been refusing you constantly, and it kills the flow. So take the security audit prompts that got blocked or overcautious last week and rerun them on Opus 5. Fewer false refusals means the in-terminal audit we set up Thursday actually finishes.
3.
Point your computer use agents specifically at Opus 5. If you wired a login-gated workflow, an invoice pull, a dashboard, export on any Claude browser flow, just switch the underlying model. 70% on OS World versus 55 means the same script fails less. No new code, one model string.
Which is a good moment for the late read.
Brought to you by SearchVis, a sister product to Outpace and built for exactly this audience. Mainframe tells you what shipped. SearchVis makes sure the models know what you shipped. When a buyer asks Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Google's AI overviews for the best tool in your category, the model names you or it names your competitor, and if it does not name you, you do not exist to that buyer. SearchVis tracks whether the answer engines cite your brand across every engine, tells you why, and hands you the exact move to win the citation. Check where you stand and start free at searchvis.outpace.media. That is searchvis.outpace.media. Be the answer.
Deep dive, one idea to carry into the week.
Look at today's shape. The best model on the board just got cut to half price overnight, and a coalition is fighting so that even cheaper open models stay legal. Nathan Lambert's framing is the one to internalize. Intelligence efficiency roughly doubles every year, which means a given level of capability keeps getting radically cheaper on a schedule. So here is the mental model. Stop pricing your product or your patience against what the model costs today. If your margin depends on frontier intelligence staying expensive, you are short a trend that has never once gone the other way. The durable value was never the model. It is the thing you wrap around it: the routing map, the spec, the verification, the client relationship. That is what did not get cheaper overnight because you own it.
So what would you actually do about it?
This week, take the pile of jobs you rejected as too expensive to automate and rerun that decision at Opus 5 prices. The frontier line item on your bill just halved, and it will halve again. Act like the next cut is already coming, because it is.
Level up.
One thing this week: upgrade Claude Code to version 2.1.219 or later, set your hard route to extra high, not max, and rebaseline one Fable job on Opus 5. 10 minutes, and your best model just got cheaper. And if you want every story, number, and link from today in your inbox tomorrow morning, subscribe to the free Mainframe newsletter. It is the written version of this whole show.
That is today's Mainframe. We will see you tomorrow.
Be the driver of the fleet, not the passenger. See you then.